Imp's strongest AD carry between maybe Caitlyn and Vayne?
Sure.
And I would think Caitlyn.
I mean, those are definitely his two, but right now Vulcun said we wanted you to get Caitlyn. That's the only reason they banned Vayne, is because they want that Kate to come through and say, we know how to deal with this. So with Vulcun, this is interesting because they know the bottom lane. They know it's Kate Thresh and can pick whatever they want into that. Or simply lane swap and pick a 1v2 that's good against that as well. Or I guess they have Shen, but they've now picked a bunch of dive. And Vi, Shen, Ahri is all kinds of scary. At level 6, they can all in the mid laner, and Dade will almost definitely die. Unless you have amazing Spidey sense from Mata, he's going down.
Something that we've talked about extensively, you know, when Orianna's locked in is the Orianna ball delivery system. This is a Shen delivery system. No matter who he piggybacks on the back of, he's getting to his target. He is going to be in range to land that taunt because, you know, if that Assault and Battery lands on the likes of Imp's Caitlyn, for example, there's nowhere to go but a Shadow Dash taunt from Shen once it arrives. We do see that Ozone are saying they've locked in their top lane and we are going to be singed. I know this will be making Joe Miller extremely excited. And for the time being, Dada is toying with the idea of Ryze. Now, Ryze was a champion that was, I don't use the word fameful, but was picked as a counterpick to Ahri several weeks ago. And, you know, just that Rune Prison ability to lock the Nine-Tailed Fox in place.
Yeah, we're going to take the last couple seconds to make sure he is going for this one. And the Ryze pick, I think, is a kind of a stopgap to say, look, you guys can burst people out really hard 1v1. And if I run an Assassin in the mid lane, I have to fight the Assassin plus the Shen, so let's not go for that matchup. Let me pick someone who's going to want to farm. Let me pick someone who sits in the back, last hits minions, gets big, and then gets un-one-shottable. And then we'll go from there, and I can carry late game, and that's actually a pretty smart idea here for Dade. But what's interesting is Vulcun forced the Caitlyn in there from Ozone. Caitlyn, compared to Vayne, is much worse at escaping Vi Shen than Vayne, because Vayne can turn invisible, can nest with the Vi, can push the Shen back, and get out. And Imp is good enough to do that in like literally 1v2. Caitlyn, less mobile, right? It's much easier to break 90 caliber net than tumble. Much easier to break her down. And there's not really a ton of peel for him, so they can remove that late game AD carry threat. Zuna, meanwhile, is on Ezreal, and that guy can kite anything.
So in theory, it sounds like you're liking the Vulcun pick so far.
I do like it.
The question is, how are they going to close this one out? So they have decided on that Sona for last pick. Took a very, very long time to lock that champion in. And it is, of course, one of Bloodwater's most played champions.
Yeah, you might as well wait a little while on the last pick right there. You say, look, we got 60 seconds. We want Sona? Yeah. Okay, take the next 50. Are we sure we want Sona? There's nothing else to do except make sure you're ready to go. It's kind of the most important part of the lives. They might as well make sure their picks are good. But yeah, again, going back to the picks, I was surprised that they banned Zyra and then just said, screw it, we'll pick Thresh, because Bloodwater's happy to play Sona. It's one of, if not literally his most played support in competitive play. So they know this matchup. They know how to play this one out. And honestly, again, I go back to it. I like Vulcan's lineup. They've done one thing very well. But we'll go back to what Ozone's going for. These Singed versus Shen matchups actually really good for Singed. Singed needs to get a bunch of gold, and Shen can't threaten him out of lane. So Looper will get big and threatening and scary. And when you're dealing with Assassins, Assassins don't want to focus a Singed. So he'll get to run to the back line and wreak havoc.
Well, I imagine both of these teams will be considering 2v1s. We'll see who pulls it in their favor. Let's take a look who you guys think is going to win this matchup. According to LOLesports.com, 67% of you agree with the analysts and think that Ozone is going to be walking away the victor. And as we said, 4 out of 4 in favor of Ozone. Now, to be fair, votes were locked in prior to seeing Vulcan's performance against Fnatic.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing them either saying they wanted to change their vote or, you know, jump ship.
So no well-researched picks for these guys. Just the blind research, and they're going to hope it worked out. I did like, though, that the Corki ban came through, right, seeing, oh, they played this in the first game. Let's actually remove that option right here and let it play his standard champions. But the game is afoot, Trevor.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, the third game of Group B, the 8th game of Day 1 here at the World Championships, and the first time we will be seeing Ozone take to the Rift. They've got a very beefy, tanky front line in Singed, Jarvan, and Ryze. And my biggest concern here for Ozone is how long it's going to take him to get to that tanky survive damage status that Vulcan's going to not be able to unshottable them.
Exactly. That is the difficulty, because the mid-game sort of jungle aggression, the ability to tower dive and force picks is definitely here for Vulcun. But as you sort of alluded to, an assassin-heavy team from Vulcun doesn't like killing tanky targets. But with Ryze, with the Singed in there, and even Jarvan to an extent, those are tanky guys who don't care that much about Ahri Burst, Vi Burst, or any kind of damage that Shen puts out.
Well, we do see Vulcun with some very, very deep wards. Vulcun, dare I say it, pulling an Ozone with that lane ward, going to give them vision of Ozone's, whoever runs to that bottom lane. And it's going to at least tell Vulcun where that solo and duo lane is going, allowing them to make a decision on the matchup that they want best.
And what's interesting about Vulcan's level 1 is they actually diverted or differed from their standard level 1, because Samsung Ozone actually pinged the expected ward positions from Vulcun and got each of those brushes wrong. They actually, they're revealing similar locations on the map, but as far as the ward is here, Vulcun actually switched up their ward patterns, which you never know might just give a bit of an edge in the level 1 gameplay.
Well, any little advantage is what matters. A game of inches, if you want to quote a popular Redditor that came up recently. We do see Vulcun now setting up potentially for a straight-up 2v2 matchup. From what I can tell, Ozone have not revealed themselves on the map until that second Imp walked across the ward. So now Vulcun are well aware that we're going to have effectively a straight skill matchup. But Zuna and Blood were in lane earlier. They should have an experience advantage.
Exactly, and this will actually pay out pretty well, because they, just like Caitlyn, they can fight from pretty far away, and under the cover of a minion wave, it's easy to get poked like this down. Imp and Mata will have a fairly rough time early on in this lane, as long as Vulcun can hold on to a minion wave lead.
Well, we'll have to see how well Zuna can do at last hitting. Mechanically, arguably one of the best as far as the North American AD carries go, and right now he's facing off against one of the best Korean AD carries. Arcane shifting forward very aggressively there. It's a couple auto attacks down, but tending to put more damage on Mata than him.
And you look at that move right there. As soon as Ozone hit level 2, they said this is our only chance to get footing back in the lane, but missed both skill shots. But here comes a bunch of pressure top lane.
So Dandy and Looper, they're walking themselves in, trying to force Xmithy away. Looper's going to steal away. Actually looks like both of those golems, in fact, so some counter jungling and the buddy system in effect.
And that's what happens in a Singed versus Shen matchup. Singed pushes harder, and when you push your lane, you free yourself up to make moves around the map. That is an incredible read there by Dandy. A lot of players really love how intelligent he is about reading jungle patterns. Knowing Smithy started on the bottom side of the map, those wards spotting him go to double golems, he knew when that was coming across, pulled in Looper, stole stuff away, and that was an incredible read.
Well, we did see on the bottom lane, Zuna, no barrier available, Bloodwater, no exhaust available. They went toe-to-toe. In the top lane, they're trading a lot of damage back and forth. Looper with Ghost Teleport. Remember that Psycho Sid does have Flash Ignite, so if a duel were to break out, that Ignite might be able to tip things in Sid's favor.
They would definitely help him out here, and you can see actually Looper right away already recalling back for some more sustain. He's ran out of potions, but said, you know what, I'm going to run out of potions, no big deal, I'll just teleport back. Got a ward, which is so big. Looper went to lane without a ward, and he didn't get burned for it. Smithy didn't get a gank. So that's actually really big. Now Looper's going to have an even better time in this lane. You'll see him build a lead over Sid.
And he actually used that teleport to join the top lane. So even, not missing out on any CS that potentially may have happened to him. He's got that Dawn's Ring as well as that Mana Crystal in his back pocket, a ward, and a whole bunch of potions. That's 5 of them, in fact. So he's going to be sticking around for an extremely extended period of time trying to get control of this lane.
And keep in mind that teleport will not be up until about 9 minutes into the game. Sid will have Stand United before then. He'll give up pressure on the turret, but if Vulcun did want to go for an 8-minute dragon, they can make that a 5-on-4.
Well, we'll see if that works out for them. Death Sentence goes out. Zuna too far down the line. Now remember, there's no barrier available, and him and Bloodwater have potentially lost a trade. Flash forward, the flame misses. Zuna was off to the side. He gets knocked up into the air by Dandy, but he's going to be able to get out cleanly. Ignite is ticking. It does look like he survived thanks to the potion and a heal. Well, it was no Ignite, just the damage over time. It worked in favor, and Zuna got away.
Alright, so very, very tricky though. Ozone are doing a much better job with lane pressure. Dandy's made his presence felt twice now. He counter-jungled the top lane, got a little bit ahead of Xmithy, has now ganked the bottom lane and forced the summoners and a lot of turret pressure down in the bottom lane. So Smithy needs to answer for this because Dandy's making all the moves.
Well, all in favor right now. 18 CS to 32. Zuna is falling further and further behind. Dade's in trouble. Mancloud doing the best he can to trade. Ignites have gone backwards. Mancloud has 1v1. Picked up first blood. And the highest kills mid laner has secured the first kill in the game against Ozone.
He did that without having to recall, without having to use Spirit Rush. He actually hit level 6 on that duel. What a great job there. Mancloud is now, there we go. It's the Mancloud Ahri. This game is now about him. The top lane's going to be rough. Sid's going to lose that lane. The bottom lane, Vulcun are already losing. Mancloud, you've got your work cut out for you.
And we do see he's got a Spirit Rush available. He's got 2 levels over Dade. Double Dawn's Ring plus the Fiendish Codex. A dual Flay pulls Zuna and Bloodwater backwards. And a very nice trap from him could have kept Zuna in place if there was no Arcane Shift available.
He put it right in the direction Zuna had to run to most efficiently run away from that matchup. It was good for Zuna that he had his Arcane Shift back available. But there you can see why Imp and Mata are the most feared dual lane in Korea. An 18 minion kill lead early, despite being the ones pushed. They managed to build that lead. They were ahead before Dandy even showed up. Imp's going to get to reach that late game status, and Zuna's going to hope that the Trinity Force spike is enough for him to have some presence in this lane.
Well, we'll have to see how quickly he can get there, because at this point in time, he is very far behind as far as that gold is concerned. Mancloud is moving his way towards that top lane, does put a ward down. That's a pink, in fact, as well. And, you know, Dandy, pretty well known for the quantity of vision he places around the map.
The early pink wards are so important for these teams because pink warding those brushes, those are these standard ward spots for either team. This says Vulcun wants to know where the mid lane roams go, but also deny vision of where those mid lane roams go. They're guaranteeing Mancloud can make his way around the map.
Well, we'll have to see how efficiently those roams can work, because it's really all on him. 7.5 minutes on the clock. We did hear a little bit of whispers of maybe an 8-minute dragon. As you can see, Psycho Sid does have Stand United available. The duo lane is there for Vulcun if they wanted to challenge it. Mancloud goes forward. The charm doesn't land. He manages to sidestep from the knockup, goes back in and putting a lot of damage onto Dade and Dandy. And this lane is definitely in Mancloud's favor.
And he put Dade at no health and no mana, and he does not have a blue buff. The mid lane's been forced to recall back. Sid has Stand United. This is a theoretical opening for Vulcun, but unfortunately their bottom lane's in no shape to go for it.
Well, we do see both members of Vulcan's bottom lane recalling right now. They're going to back away, pick up a longsword, a couple of potions on both of them, in fact, and really want to make sure that they don't get caught out by Dandy's job, and they do not want to run the risk of falling even further behind.
They're going for the blue buff. Smithy's already got his way through the jungle. He knows Dandy's come across the wall. They're going to be able to single out Dandy. They're going for it.
Assault and Battery slams Dandy into the ground. Here comes Shen. Stand United is up. Vault Breaker's forward, denting blows, but that doesn't manage to land the taunt. Psycho Sid's Ignite will be enough to close it out. A flash away from Smithy as another charm goes wide by Mancloud. Now Spur Rush is not available, nor is there a flash. The poison is ticking, and Looper is running loops around Mancloud. The poison's going to be enough to pick it up, but that's a lot of damage onto Dandy. If there was a little more auto attacks, he could have traded back and forth.
He was about 50 damage away from picking that kill up. I was surprised to see that coming in, but you can just see Vulcun focusing their attention. They have an early game plan, and they've built an early game lead. Vulcun, they're a good early game team. I'm surprised they didn't get to steal the blue, unfortunately for them, but the Looper roam without teleport, that was important.
Well, we do see Looper. He's returned to his lane. 78 CS. He's got that Catalyst of Protector completed. He now has a blue buff as well. So it's going to be poison all day long. And he's going to be making Sid's life incredibly difficult up there.
And now remember that also, yeah, exactly, that Sid doesn't have a Sunfire cape. He had to go early matter just to survive the duels that might come out against Looper. So he will repeatedly shove to Psycho Sid's turret, and the teleport advantage is there for Looper. Vulcun has to sneak this dragon because they can't take it otherwise.
Well, they do have vision control right now. Ozone has absolutely no idea this is going on. There was some blue team pings in the tri-bush. We do see Dandy coming around the side. He's farming up his Wraith Clampers. Mancloud and Smithy should be able to pick this one up cleanly. And Vulcun, like ninjas, sneak that dragon away completely unknown to the Ozone members.
That was well played. Now, to be fair, there might have been an inkling because there was a ward over dragon, and Smithy had pinked it just a couple seconds ago. But the lane could have roamed if they wanted to. That was a possible contest there for Ozone. So Vulcun, again, finding themselves an opening. Only a 1,000 gold lead. The only way they're ahead right now was that Dragon Sneak. So keep in mind this game is very, very close. ManCloud's making the early moves. Sid's back to farming in the top lane. And now that he's tanky enough to survive Singed, and there's no Dragon on the map, he could just farm up, wait for Sunfire Cape. Sid's going to be okay.
Remember that we're talking about how powerful Vulcun are in the early game, talking about how good ManCloud is with this Uri, and Ryze is a champion we haven't seen much of since the Tier of the Goddess changes, which slowed the stacking on that. It delays his power spike. You see Mata and inputting a lot of damage onto Zuna as he's alone in lane. Bloodwater's been back a few times without Zuna's Ezreal, and it's resulting in a 30 CS advantage right now.
Yeah, that bottom lane, the Thresh pickup ended up working dividends. Zuna gets caught.
Take a look at that. The Flay throws him forwards. A flash forward after the net. She ace in the hole coming down. It's not going to be enough, but that's very close. The Ignite was ticking away. True Shot Barrage goes down just to clear out the wave as much as possible. But Zuna is in trouble against Imp's Caitlyn.
And Zuna's not really getting any help from his team. This lane has been left to sit there. Oh!
Crescendo goes out, and that didn't catch anybody.
But it forced the flash from Imp because Smithy was coming right in behind that and said, we think we can pick up the kill there. So actually a trade of flashes is not the worst thing for Vulcun. But like I was saying, they weren't getting much help there. Smithy finally showed up to the bottom lane for like a real gank. But it's really Vulcun focusing the mid lane, trying to remove Dade. And the interesting thought is, I always like thinking about what champion a team first picks. Because I feel like if you're going to first pick something that better matter for your team. And they first picked Thresh for lane dominance. That has happened here for Ozone. Vulcun said, you didn't pick Ahri? Great, we'll take it. That's gone well for Vulcun.
Well, ManCloud's going to be hoping and praying he can dodge and sidestep and Spirit Rush away from Matter's hooks once we get to these mid-games, because if you add that crowd control plus Ryze, ManCloud's Nine-Tailed Fox is not going to have 9 lives, and he's going to get shut down. Mata sneaking himself around the side, but he has walked over a ward, so Bloodwater and Zuna back away. Very, very well timed there. They're still 30 CS behind. If Zuna can continue to hold this lead, it will become less significant as the game goes on. However, Kaden will always outscale Ezreal as far as that on-hit damage is concerned.
The one really sort of opening that Vulcun has is that Trinity Force is cheaper than Infinity Edge by about 200 gold, and Zuna didn't go for upgraded boots. So that's 200 gold he saves from just the item being cheaper, and another 575 from not going Berserker's Greaves. So despite that 30-ish minion kill deficit, Zuna will hit his first big item about the same time as Imp and will have a similar power spike. So Vulcun actually has a fair bit to work with in the mid game.
Well, we'll have to see how well they can make use of that. Dragon was secured a couple minutes ago, and it was one that Vulcun were able to sort of sneak away thanks to some great timing and great positioning. Ozone will not be wanting to let that happen again, so we'll see how well they can set up their vision and try to defend it. Rod of Age is completed by Lupa in the top lane there. That's going to be stacking up. You see in the bottom lane, Zuna taking, once again, massive amounts of damage, and very luckily for him, Bloodwater Sona is keeping him as healthy as he possibly can.
Yeah, that's a really fortunate pickup for Vulcun. If it weren't for Sona, I think it'd be a much worse matchup for Zuna. But it's also worth mentioning that Ozone's going to keep scaling. You talked about Caitlyn getting crazy late game. You talked about Ryze stacking up. If Vulcun don't keep making moves, this actually will start to turn sour for them.
Well, ManCloud, we caught a glimpse of him. He had 2-level advantage in the mid lane. Right now, Lupa has turned the tables on Vulcun. He has a 1-level advantage, and he's doing, what Singed do best. And basically, playing like a bit of an a-hole, he's just pulling Psycho Sid around. He's farming behind his turrets. He's being a nuisance as much as possible.
But to Sid's credit, I actually called the matchup wrong. I said it would be really rough for Sid. He'd fall behind. He's actually exactly keeping up in minions. In fact, this lead was bigger before, so Sid has actually grown a minion kill lead over his opponent. The early Spirit Visage kept him from doing much of anything.
Oh, a great charm there onto Dandy. ManCloud, Spirit rushes away. Here comes Stand United. There's a teleport in from Singe. Lupa wants to get involved in the fight. Smithy's going to be in trouble. The charm is going to delay Mata, but it's not going to be enough. True Shot Barrage flew across members of Ozone, but a great pickup. And now with Dragon spawning in a minute, they may decide to stick around.
Well, they can't just stay right there. They've probably got to go back to their own lanes. With teleport down, that might be rough. This could be a catch in the city. Prompt Ghost.
So always may see who they're going to fling forward. A very nice taunt's going to hold Lupa in place. Orbit Deception goes up by ManCloud. He does get caught. Fling, rooted. The bounce goes back and forth. That's another kill for Lupa. Sid is able to pick up a kill onto Dade, but Lupa is just running circles around Vulcun. He's 3-0-0. And a Singed that is 3-0-0 with Rod of Ages and a bunch of kills, gold.
Yeah.
That is a scary position to be in if you're a Vulcan member.
It is a very, very scary Singe, and what you've got to look at then is how can Vulcan deal with him, because all the hopes for the mid game are going to rest on Looper. Late game, okay, you can rely on Imp and Dade, but Dade's off to a very, very slow start. He has the least gold of any of the traditional carry lanes on his team, and I believe in the game overall. But here comes the gank for Smithy for the bottom lane.
Salt and Battery throws down. That's a double crescendo. That's exactly what Vulcan needed. They picked up the kill onto Mata. Exhaust is now worn off on Imp, and he's doing the best he can to hammer away. Dandy is trucking away. He does not want to get involved in this one, and Vulcan will be able to pick up 2 kills for 0, and one of them went to Zuna.
And look at the timing of the gank. Dragon is spawning right now. So let's watch this gank come in. Smithy managed to sneak in and just says, screw it, all in the Thresh, because Thresh would otherwise be able to pull in Imp with the Lantern. And the exhaust on Bloodwater early to make sure Imp cannot run away just gives so much lane control here to Vulcan. There's nowhere for him to go. Very great pickup. There's the Dragon as their reward for Vulcan.
Oh, we do see Jarvan comes in, doesn't manage to smite it, not used. Now he does have Flash available. He is going to use that to get over the wall, but they managed to get the Flash out of Dandy's Jarvan, and Vulcan with a 3,000 gold lead. Mancloud now jumps into Dade, but his charm went wide. Mancloud's charms have not been hitting yet in this early game.
You're right, they absolutely haven't been. Some of that, at least in this case, was Dade's Rise ultimate giving him bonus move speed, lets you more easily dodge Ahri, which I actually like as now a matchup choice because you've got some of the tools to break apart what Ahri wants to do, and because your innate tankiness by being Rise is decently high, Ahri needs to land skill shots to actually kill you. Compared to killing like an AD carry or maybe like a Zed, you can rely on Deathfire, Grasp, Spirit Rush, and Foxfire, the things that don't require aiming, aside from clicking on your opponent to deal damage. With Rise having enough health, she must land skill shots here, and he can dodge them.
Aiming can be very hard at times. Zuna and Bloodwater hold onto their tower for a few more seconds. That tower is within inches of going down. What you see Psycho Sid is once again going to get flung over his shoulder. Sid is just going to say, look bro, I don't care. I want to farm. Throws out a couple of blades, and they're basically just going to keep trading back and forth a little bit. 155 CS to 156. This is even as it's going to be. And basically, both of these champions want to impact the mid game. Dandy's going to try and get involved here. Does walk across the ward, actually doesn't even hide himself anymore. I think the focus is definitely going to be this tower.
Yeah, exactly. Dandy showed up to make sure they had enough people to make that fall down. Ozone getting the first turret of the game. And that is one thing that Dandy does well. Money Crystal calls it ganking for pressure. It's making sure his team has the numbers advantage to make objective leads. Ozone plays for objectives. Dandy ganks to get pressure over this.
Well, Mata and Imp are going to be able to secure the red buff there. Now Smithy is in a little bit of trouble. He slams Imp into the ground. The Lantern is available. Imp takes a ride in the Dark Passage, gets out cleanly. Now Smithy's in a little bit of trouble. Does manage to get taken out by that Ignite. Imp is now being jumped on by Magcloud. Should go down in the background. Zuna, Bloodwater, and Sid are onto Dade. He has been dropped. They now turn their attention onto Mata. He has now been dropped. That's a double kill for Bloodwater. The Taunt does manage to catch onto Dandy as he flag and drags out to safety. While all of this is going on, Lupa's in the top right. The true shot barrage manages to pick up the kill. Zuna gets out with 100 HP, but Lupa is left untouched. He's gonna get himself a tower for this one. Vulcan 4 for 1, but they lose the tower.
But that was so good for Vulcan, and that is cooldown reduction at work for you. Stand United, much shorter cooldown than Summoner Teleport. Smithy just man-mode start this fight, knows he has Shen on his side. Watch this Lantern, though. That's a really, really good disengage right there, and it forces Smithy out of the fight and actually drops down. Imp, unfortunately, has nowhere to go. Mancloud just is able to solo him out. But watch Zuna. Takes a lot of damage, just flashes in time to not take the Cataclysm damage at all, and then it's just mop up here. Vulcan, honestly, that's just like so well played, and making a 5v4 is just impressive.
Vulcan landed every single ability they needed to. The taunts from Sid locked them up. The crescendos from Bloodwater have been so good so far.
And look at the power spike. Trinity Force is done for Zuna. Infinity Edge is not done for Imp. Imp actually has enough money now to go back to base and buy it, but there's still this window until Imp goes back. Vulcan has controlled the map, even just from an 80 carry standpoint.
Well, 3,000 gold in the lead for Vulcan. They are sticking true to their team's abilities of generating advantages early. This time, however, it is significantly less than what they did against Europe's Fnatic. And the question is, how do they now contain the Singe that's going to be split pushing? How do they deal with him and still control Ozone across the rest of the map.
Well, it's Psycho Sid finishing a Sunfire Cape. That was necessary to have him put pressure on the map.
Mancloud gets caught. This is exactly what he didn't want. Mata secures the kill, and that was the CC chain we talked about.
And he stood on top of a pink ward to do it. That's so important when playing Thresh, is making sure that if you're going to get picks, and the only guy to get picks in this team is really the Thresh, you get the vision ward control you need to make sure you're casting them from Fog of War. And this is now Ozone still trying to push. The most important member of Vulcun is dead.
Oh, we do see a Flake coming back. Now Smithy's going to throw himself in. Assault and batteries down. Crescendo does catch Imp on the backline. Shani's here. Now Zuna's joined the party. True Shot Barrage goes across. Zuna picks up the first. Teleport's coming down for Lupa. Let's see what he can do. Zuna with double buffs up is trying to control the fight. They've traded support for support as the ace in the hole slams down Smithy. Lupa's going to be forced to run away. He doesn't want to fight double buff Ezreal under tower.
That was a 2-for-1 fight that Vulcun started. That was not the best idea for these guys, pulling the gold back to equal between these teams. You see what happens when Vulcun doesn't have their mid laner in that fight. The picks, so important here. And as we mentioned, so the Sunfire Cave, important for Sid. It'll let these guys push the mid turret down. But Sid, honestly, I feel like Vulcun could go back to what style worked for them against Fnatic, which was go send Sid on his own. He will teleport more frequently than Looper. He has about half the cooldown, less than half the cooldown on his global teleport. So Sid can keep that pressure. And now with the Sunfire Cape, he can win a duel against Singed, and he can keep the minions dead about as fast as Singed can do that as well.
So in telling Psycho Sid to channel his inner Tom Hanks, stick himself on an island, find his Wilson, and use that to keep control of Looper, because it's what he does best. And as a split pusher, to deal with a split pusher, we'll see how this works. Does get caught up, rooted in place by that Rune Prison. Ignite is now ticking, but here comes Bloodwater. Crescendo's going to be up in a second. The question is, does he want to use it? Now we do see Sid is down. True Shot Barrage comes out as Dade is dropped to below 200 HP. Mancloud is forced away out of the fight. Spirit rushes backwards, doesn't have any more charges, as much as Ignite, I believe, picks up the last bit of damage. Now Zuna wants to try and clean up. He will get one onto the support, but he's taking a lot of damage from the Infinity Edge Zeal. Barrier has already been used. Imp has barrier available. Zuna is looking for Dandy, not going to be able to pick it up, and Imp gets the shutdown, plus 500 gold. Now all of a sudden Smithy's in trouble. He turns back, manages to dive onto Imp, breaks the denting blows, but that's a double kill for Imp. The last person you want to give kills to.
Mancloud got greedy in that fight, got himself killed trying to pick off Dade, the tanky mid laner, pulling enough attention, pulling enough of the damage, and getting out. Let's watch this fight. So Sid gets caught, he's going to try to run away, that's fine, but it starts the fight for Vulcun. Here comes the rest of the battle. The engage comes in, they try to dunk Dade. Watch Mancloud here. Says, I think I can get Dade. Oh no, Flay, knock up, no I can't, Imp. Oh wow, uses his escape to get into the battle to deal the damage that he can. Mata gets picked off, but Zuna has nowhere to go anymore. Crescendo is 10 seconds away from being up right now. Can't cast it. Watch this nugget from Dandy. Flashes to get it. Zuna just can't find the damage.
Yeah, not going to be able to get that last hit. Zuna gets taken down. That's actually his first death of the game. So considering how rough this game has been on Zuna, you have to give him props to have only gone down this late in. Kills are 11-11. Towers 4-2. But now Ozone have a gold advantage. They are 1,000 ahead. And look at those kills. 3 on Singed, 2 on Ryze, 4 on Caitlyn. Dragon is up, and it looks like Vulcun want to contest this one. Smithy's going to charge that Volt Breaker up. Ace in the hole comes down. That does nothing to Psycho Sid. In the background, Smithy is going to slam Mata down onto the ground. True Shot Barrage comes up. That's a 3-man taunt. Dade's the first target as Mancloud is forced to run away. Stand United is now being channeled onto Mancloud's Uri. He should be able to back away for a few more seconds. A great taunt from Sid is keeping Looper down, but the poison is going to pick up the kill. In the background, Imp continues the chase. Now Dandy wants to get on Psycho Sid. He has knocked him up in the air. Zuna goes forward. The death sentence lands onto Bloodwater. This is a messy fight from everybody. Mata flays them backwards. Piltover gets 1. Dandy gets 2. Psycho Sid's going to be number 3. And Ozone ace Vulcun to have a convincing team fight win.
Absolutely incredible team fight by these guys, and the lack of tankiness on Smithy just kind of got picked off. He dove in to the Samsung Ozone team and got obliterated first. He died without being able to do much of anything. And from there, it's a 5-on-4, and you saw crowd controls land. The extra tankiness of the Ozone lineup paying off there. They don't get bursted out. Imp is safe in the back lines. Watch this. Smithy has got nowhere to go. Just explodes right here. Dade puts so much damage onto him. dies before he can finish killing off Mata right here. And there comes ManCloud, just gets pulled in, not able to do anything. Again, just forced out, tanky Singe, gets charmed, gets taunted, gets hit by Zuna. Doesn't matter. He's so tanky, he gets the pick up on a ManCloud. That's how you win this fight. And now, watch this fight with Imp and everything. Gets exhausted, has to flash, gets to safety just enough, and then Zuna can't deal the damage. It gets body blocked by Thresh the entire time. Vulcun are sneaking the Dragon, but they're going to get fought again.
So Dragon's been picked up. Lupa charmed up by ManCloud. It's going to Spirit Rush. He gets flung backwards. Third proc is going to be needed to get over the wall. Now Lupa turns his attention over to his Smithy. Has now decided to teleport. He's teleporting up the lane. Zuna wants to be his target. He's turned backwards. A play onto ManCloud is going to get Rune Prison in place. Now Zuna is doing the best he can to get away. Smithy's running left. Zuna's running right. Zuna's down on the bottom lane. Dandy has caught him. Look for the knock-up. This is the question. Pinkwood goes down for Vision. Imp with some massive criticals. Another knock-up from Dandy, and they close it out. It's not over yet, as now Dandy's been caught out. He's miles behind. He is sticking around in the jungle. Flashes away from the taunt. Sid is now forced backwards. You can see the Rune Prison holding him in place. Death Sentence, is it going to land? That is the question. Is it going to connect? No, as it goes just to the right. Rune Prison not syncing up with Mata's Death Sentence, but Ozone have Vulcan's number right now, and they are running them in circles.
Ozone team fought better time and time again. They were in position. They actually got the catches. They controlled the vision well enough to keep finding the opening and forcing Vulcun into bad fight time after time after time after time again. ManCloud now 2-6-3. Never able to make the plays now. Early lead wasn't able to capitalize, and now Bloodwater's caught.
That's massive damage. 3 bullets, 4 will be enough to close it out, and the last hit actually goes to Dandy. Crescendo wasn't even available, and all Bloodwater wanted to do was ward. Now with the number disadvantage, Ozone may set their sights on the inhibitor turrets.
They've got the people to do it, and a Caitlyn with a bunch of items is really good at removing these things from the map. Traps start coming down to make sure the engage is not really going to happen for Vulcun. But honestly here, this is just a siege that will likely work for Ozone. They've got Baron buff and a lot of item advantage.
Oh, we do see Insanity Potion has been drunk there by Lupa. He's taken a lot of damage. He gets taunted up, but Sid, that's not the target you want. Imp is hammering away from the backline. Death Sentence goes out, doesn't connect. Xmithy eats the ace in the holes. You see Sid does get dropped in the background. Stand United was not even used in that fight. ManCloud's doing the best he can to fight, but Lupa is just running through everybody. That's the third kill of the fight, as now Zuna is down. And without an ultimate available, ManCloud's going to have little to offer in defending this Nexus. The first turret falls, the next turret falls, and Vulcun, they look good in some places, they're not good in others, and right now, Ozone are going to be picking up their first win carrying Group B.
Yeah, a little bit of a cheeky kill at the fair.